Last updated 21/12, May 12, 2018. Peter Miles, second from left, his wife, Cynda, back right. Their daughter Katrina, left, and her 4 children, Tay, Rylan, Air, and Caden. Answers to Australia's worst mass shooting since Port Arthur in 1996 are most likely contained in a 2-minute emergency phone call made by a man from the property where the murder-suicide took place. "We know where the call was made from, we know whose phone it was made from," said Western Australia Police Commissioner Chris Dawson, outside the Margaret River Police Station on Saturday morning. The phone call was made from that property at approximately 5:15 a.m. Flowers have been left outside the property in Western Australia where the bodies of 7 people were found. "We are treating this as a matter in which 6 persons are the subject of a homicide crime scene, while there is a 7th person deceased." Read more. Shooting devastates Australian town. 3 adults and 4 children found dead in Western Australia town. Australia's firearm arsenal at highest level since Port Arthur massacre. Port Arthur massacre anniversary. How shooting was an end and a beginning. 3 guns found at a farm where 7 people were found shot dead near Margaret River on Friday were licensed to the owner of the property, Peter Miles, police say. Katrina Miles with their 4 children. West Australia Police Commissioner Chris Dawson confirmed that the 7 people, Cynda, 58, and her husband Peter Miles, 61, their daughter Katrina and her 4 children Tay, Ryan, Air and Caden Cockman, were found shot dead on the 30-acre hobby farm in Osmington, south of Perth, in the early hours of Friday morning. The apparent murder-suicide is the country's worst mass shooting since the Port Arthur massacre in 1996. Police continued to search through the property on Saturday, in a painstaking forensic investigation that is expected to continue into next week. WA Police Commissioner Chris Dawson confirmed the guns belonged to grandfather Peter Miles. He would not confirm reports that police suspected that Peter Miles, Katrina's father and the grandfather of the 4 children, had called police at 5:15 a.m. on Friday, shortly before his and his 6 relatives' bodies were found. "I will confirm all 7 deceased suffered gunshot wounds," he said. "This is a complex criminal investigation. We're treating this as a matter in which clearly 6 persons are the subject of a homicide. A 7th person is deceased. It is far too premature to come to any conclusive statement about that." Forensic police continued to search the Osmington property where a family of 7 people were found dead. As police sought answers to the apparent murder-suicide, locals in the Margaret River community say fingers pointing at the grandfather of the family do not make sense, with some alleging media reports and investigators have got it wrong. In the hours following the shooting, sources have suggested investigations have focused on Peter Miles. But locals in the local community say they can't get their head around the suggestion that Peter Miles could be responsible. A temporary support center has been set up in Margaret River after the tragedy. "I don't understand the suicide part of the story," said a close friend of Katrina's, who has asked not to be named. "They were really close, she and her parents. They were all lovely people. There was just a lot of love in that family," she said. "I can't get my head around that. She had a lot of issues with her ex-partner that I could understand. But the suicide I don't understand." Osmington is a tourist town lined by farmland and vineyards. Police were called to the property in Osmington, West Australia, about 5:15 a.m. local time, and found the bodies of Cynda Miles and Katrina Miles and her children, aged 8 to 13. Several Australian media outlets are reporting that grandfather and former high school teacher, Peter Miles, is suspect over the deaths. Peter Miles and Cynthia Miles owned the property where the shooting happened. Their daughter Katrina Miles lived there with her children, reports 9 News. Police at the Osmington Road property, the scene of Australia's worst mass shooting since the Port Arthur massacre in 1996. It is now the scene of one of the worst Australian shooting crimes in recent memory. The crime scene is so extensive, Sinowar police expect to be at the site for up to 5 days. "It's a crime scene and we've got to figure out what happened," the region's top cop, Superintendent Mick Sutherland told a media pack on Friday afternoon. "We expect to be here for up to 5 days." Police had blocked the road in Osmington, near the shooting, at the end of Osmington Road, near Cane Road. On Friday morning, local police officers were met with a horrific sight. 7 dead bodies, 4 children and 3 adults. 2 firearms were located nearby. The exact ages of the deceased have not yet been released. Police hope to do so by Friday night. Police are expected to hold a press conference on Saturday, during which further details are expected to be released. The property at the center of the horror discovery is situated about 100 meters past the Osmington and Kane Road intersection. The next closest property is situated across many rural fields, such as the remoteness of the area. A police contingent has locked down the scene as media gathered at the site, trying to figure out what has happened. 2 police officers stood guard by a marked police car, blocking access to parts of Osmington Road and to Kane Road on Friday afternoon. Several unmarked police cars full of homicide squad detectives, whose job it is to investigate the shocking crime, hurtled up and down the remote road. Several locals were allowed to drive down Osmington Road past the cordoned-off scene and to their homes and places of work. Some would have been aware of the tragedy that had just unfolded nearby. Others may not have been. But they will be soon. This is a crime that will soon be known all over the country. One local who wished not to be named described the family at the center of the tragedy as quiet. They kept to themselves, although I did try to reach out to them and make contact, he said. This is just a quiet neck of the woods, who would believe it? But such was the horror local officers discovered in these quiet back roads of Margaret River. A police chaplain was brought down to counsel the first responders. What a day, SMH, stuff.